Hey guys, wanted to share today a story, or kind of the seed that was planted that created one of my biggest personal philosophies and outlooks on life. This was way back to when I was a very young kid, 8-9 years old. I went on my first missions trip to Mexico. So we had gone, we take a big group of people from the church I attended to the city of Guadalajara in Jalisco, Mexico. And leading up to it, there was a lot of planning, and as a small child with no income, I had to talk to people and write letters and raise money. Really cool experience, not the point of the story. The story more starts on the way down there. So my first time on a plane, and we had probably 20 or so people in our group. So we get on the plane. I remember being excited about the flight. I remember it was crazy as a kid. You know how it gets cold on planes. I spent probably half the trip just frustrated as a small child, so inconvenienced in my important life with how cold it was on the plane. Like, I was cold. I had my members only jacket, if some of you guys remember those, and wrapped up tight, had a couple blankets, and just, why is it so cold in this plane? So made the flight down there. It's not a super long flight. We actually had a connection in Texas, I believe, where we went through customs. Well, where we went through customs on the way back. But arriving there, we landed in Mexico, and I was already accustomed to, on the American side, they had the walkway that we walked down to the plane and went in, and everything was really convenient. We pull up in Mexico and we stop out on the runway, and I see them pushing up this massive staircase to the plane. So they roll up the staircase to the plane, open the door, and we have to climb down. Not a big deal, but then we have to walk a good ways over to a bus that takes us the rest of the way to the terminal. And I'm just like, why didn't we just pull up to the terminal? Why do I have to walk over here? Why do I have to wait in the bus? But I remember when I walked up to the doors, I stepped out on that platform to walk down the steps, like looking out over the mountains and the city. There was a haze, and then the smell of refried beans and pollution is what hit me. I mean, those good old frijoles, like, I remember it like it was yesterday. The smell was so strong, and I realized very quickly that, hey, I'm in a completely different, new environment. So we get off the airplane, my long, inconvenient walk to the bus, and the ride to the terminal. We get checked in, we get picked up by the missionaries we were meeting there. They take us to our hotel. Now, we're staying in a hotel that's a 4-star hotel there in Mexico, and it was a very nice hotel. They had this amazing breakfast bar, buffet. The rooms were immaculate. And I was like, all right, well, this, I thought we were going to this foreign land that I wouldn't recognize. Like, well, this is really nice. Right across the street, massive mall, bigger than any mall I'd been to in the US. So again, I'm like, well, how bad is this? I thought we were going down here to help these less fortunate people, but it's, nicer than what I have in my hometown. And at that time too, before all the inflation, I had a few $100s, which turned into thousands of pesos at the exchange. So with just a few $100, I was rich. So I could buy whatever I wanted that my parents allowed me to on that trip. So very excited, like I have this status of, I'm important down here because I got all this money. I'm staying in a nice place. So that was when we landed. We had meetings and such that we attended, and conferences, and we'd working here and there and doing things. But later on in the trip, they're like, all right, tomorrow we're going to go out of the city and go to an orphanage. So some of the guys went over to the mall, bought candy and different supplies and some toiletries and such. But one of the guys got this big old container, clear plastic container of those soft peppermints. And he's going to take that out there. So the next day we ride out, and I'd already seen, because we've been there for a few days, I'd seen some of the dirt floor houses, houses with cinder blocks and such. So I realized that we're in a different area. But we went out there, way outside the city, started getting into the more hilly areas, and it's just rolling hills covered with houses and dirt roads. And the houses were no more than cinder block walls with a tarp over them. Some were nicer, some were not as nice as that. And it started to strike me that this isn't what I'm used to. They don't have the level of lifestyle that I do. The kids there don't have air conditioning a lot of times in those areas. They don't sit home and play video games. So, and this has been many years back. A lot of areas have changed since then, but it started to really register the difference. So we go out and we're going to an orphanage, and the orphanage it's a small complex, and we pull up and it's got this courtyard. It's just dirt courtyard. There's all these kids playing. Well, we hop out, and we were the novel white people showing up at this orphanage. So we hop out, we start walking up, kids all get excited, are running up, and they see the dude with the peppermints, and they mob this guy. They're all over him, excited. So he just starts opening it up, and it's like, you get a peppermint, you get a peppermint, everybody gets a peppermint, and throwing them out. Kids are grabbing them, running around. It's like he was the piñata and they busted him. And so they're getting just incredibly excited over this little candy. And I've eaten 17 of them on the trip up there and didn't think anything of it. But they're getting them, they're putting them in their shirts and rolling them up and running off. And once the candy's been dispersed and a few other people had different things, you see them over there in little groups, and they're pulling out what they got and counting, I got these pieces, and I got this Starburst, and I got this whatever. And it struck me like, these are the things that I never thought about. Like, we would have candy, and we didn't have it just laying around the house all the time, but I would get candy as a little fat American kid on a regular basis, not think anything of it. And they're over here like, bartering and trading. All right, I'll give you 3 peppermints for your Starburst, and you got a candy bar over here. And it was incredible to see. And a few things struck me when that happened. And as a young child, I didn't fully develop the thought until later, but it planted the seed of what was the last thing that really got you excited or got me excited? Because the entire time we were there, some of these kids talked about it the entire time we were there, and it was like one of those mile marker moments for them that, hey, this happened and I got this thing that I'd never experienced before. And some of the kids had never had those kinds of candy before, so it was a mile marker moment that they got excited about. And over the years, the thought developed, and the concept of how many of these mile marker moments have I just missed because I wasn't paying attention, and what level of thing happening in my life does it take for me to stop and get excited about the thing? Is it, hey, I got a new vehicle, or I did this, or I reached this goal? What is it that actually stops? It makes me stop and get excited about life or a happening, because so many amazing things happen in our daily lives. Here we get in cars and we don't even think about it. We turn the switch and drive down the road and like, hey, we just drove 60 miles and it was an afterthought, when it's an amazing feat of technology that got you there, but we're more upset that, hey, the AC's not blowing cold enough. So that was one thought, and I realized that over the next few years. But the thing that really struck me there is the flight down. I was whining about the temperature being inconvenient to me. And then I get here to this orphanage where there's kids the same age as I am that have 2 changes of clothes on a dirt floor, and they lost their minds with excitement over a couple pieces of candy. And it put very much into perspective my small inconvenience of, hey, it was a little chilly on the flight. And this has grown, like I said, it planted a seed, but it's grown over the years of what's really important, like what's worth complaining about and getting upset about versus what's a small inconvenience. Because we've had issues. I'll have a flat tire, or we'll have a problem on a job or whatever, and as long as nobody's hurt, as long as it's able to be fixed, it's a small inconvenience. That's all it is. There's no sense getting upset about it. There's no sense in it letting it ruin your day, or posting on Facebook, oh my God, I had a flat tire, why me, you know. You have a vehicle. That just happens. It's a small inconvenience in your luxurious life of technological advancements. So that was, and I noticed that on the trip, and then it's grown more and more. And a lot of our guys in our field that we've dealt with that have complained about things let you know that it can very quickly be put into perspective. Oh yeah, it's a little bit hot today. Small inconvenience. Hydrate, take breaks, whatever. It's a small inconvenience. It's easy to work around. Not worth complaining about. It's part of life. You have a vehicle issue. Great. Nobody got hurt. Small inconvenience. It's fixable. So that's one of the seeds that was planted that turned into one of my larger personal philosophies, my core beliefs as I've gotten older and done more things. Is most things that we get frustrated about or upset about are just small temporary inconveniences. And once you realize that and put it into perspective, it's a lot easier to focus on, hey, what's actually important? Hey, is my family healthy and safe and provided for? Hey, is this friend good? Or items like that. Because if those aren't the things in question, then is it really worth getting upset about? So that's my philosophical thought for the day. I wanted to share that story with you guys, and thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this episode. Give it a like. Let us know what you thought in the comments down there. Share it if you feel so inclined. If you really like to go to our page under follow, click see first. That way you never miss a video. You see it as soon as it comes out. And we'll see you on the next episode.